Hey, gun people! Gonna do another edition of follow-up on this shooting. So, let me in the camera here. I am. Monkey's gonna help me out. He'll come on down in a second. So let's talk about this Fort Worth shooting. I had some good comments. I made some notes, and I wanted to discuss. I originally wanted to do this video because people are comparing it to Amber Guyger, and how I took her side, I didn't take this guy's side. So I want to explain why the two are different in my mind, and how I think it would be different in the jury or the law's mind. So first, let me get in a couple of, don't be typing things on here, boy. Okay, so people were like, who called the cops on a welfare check? Her neighbor called the cops, 2:30 in the morning. He sees her doors open and lights on. A lot of people are dogging him, saying, why did he go over? I don't think I'm going over my neighbor's house wandering around at 2:30 in the morning. Maybe if I know him and I call him and I can't get an answer, even then, you're on iffy ground. You're hanging around someone's house at night, 2:30 in the morning. You weren't called there. You don't have police powers. You don't have a badge. You don't have a uniform. You don't have, you set yourself. I tell people, be very careful when you get involved with shit, because it can go bad that quick. This cop just lost his career, his life, maybe going to prison because he went to work that night and made a mistake. So the neighbor could walk over there and make a mistake. And if I was a neighbor, I'm going to my neighbor's house, I'm armed. If I think something up at my neighbor's house and I decide to go over, I'm carrying a pistol and probably a rifle. So, should you be going over to neighbors and trying to be a goody guy and end up getting shot? I don't know. If the guy's a burglar, you get shot. If you surprise him, you could get shot. If they got a new boyfriend, if they're out of fight. There's just so many things. So I'm not a big fan of going over there. Smokey's philosophy is paws up, don't shoot. So that's his motto. I ain't getting involved in nothing that can get me hurt. He don't even get involved when I'm out here. If he sees me running around with a gun, he's like, I'm out of here. He ain't trying to help. So the neighbor they called in, they interviewed him, and he feels really bad. I thought it was kind of funny this morning. They showed the woman getting killed in Fort Worth, real quick, said, white officer shoots white woman in house. And then they immediately went up to Amber Guyger, white woman shoots black man in his own house. And then they immediately went to the victims, I think her cousin or brother or somebody, and he's sitting on the couch, they're interviewing him, and he said this, and I started busting on laughing because I just couldn't help it. He was like, no, I don't want a hug. A hug ain't fixing nothing for me. So he was immediately referencing how the brother forgave Amber and gave her a hug, making everything okay. So he was just like, no, that ain't me. So everybody wants blood. I get it. She shouldn't have been killed. Some other idiot come here commenting, you think a woman should get killed just because she's black? I'm like, shut up, you freaking idiot. I never said that. Anyway, so whether or not he should have gone over, I'm not sure. A lot of people are saying he should be charged with murder. I don't think this is murder. Murder usually requires an overt act to either plan, lie in wait, or intent to do evil. You're cheating on me, so I'm going to go over there with a gun. Man, I'm going to have intent to kill you, but I'm going to go over there with a gun, we get in an argument and end up shooting you. That's closer to murder, because I put things in motion that a reasonable person or is likely to could turn to deadly force. Had I not brought the gun, had I not went over there to confront you, now we're getting closer to murder. In this case, you guys are like, murder, charge him with murder, he should have. Look, cop wasn't out getting kicks on a Saturday night. He wasn't going there because he was bored and wanted something to do. He was dispatched in the line of duty. And once you're dispatched, you get certain protections because you're required to go. You're told you need to go. Now, I know somebody will say, well, the Supreme Court said you're not required to protect your go. Look, the Supreme Court can say that. But you need to follow policy, and if your agency has a policy that when you're dispatched to calls, you will go and handle it, then you got to go to comply with policy. And if you're out of policy, then you lose your immunity. Immunity comes when you're in the scope of your employment and you're within policy. This guy was in the scope of his employment. Was he within policy? I don't know. I tried to look up. I think all agencies ought to make all their policies public. I should be able to go to any law enforcement agency, government agency. Policies should not be secret, and I shouldn't have to request to see it. It ought to be on every website. Here's our policies. Here's what every officer is required to do on every situation: deadly force, response to welfare checks, dealing with public complaints. It should all be on every website. And there are some websites that do it. Los Angeles Police Department has all their policies online. You go to their website and look up any policy that their officers are required to carry. That should be nationwide. Every agency, every law enforcement agency, every person that carries a gun for the government should have their policies posted for the public. Because I want to go and look, what's their policy for responding to calls at night, burglary, high risk, welfare. They have policies on all that. And I want to, it makes it easier to make an informed decision if people have that policy. And of course, none of the news media is printing out their policy. They're not getting a policy. They're not comparing the law and a policy and having somebody that does a job. Because remember, this guy was a cop on duty. Therefore, a lot of people are saying, if I did that, I'd be in jail. Well, maybe so. If you were snooping around somebody's house and entered their back porch at night for no reason and shot somebody, you probably would go to jail. But this cop gets what's called an umbrella of protection from the government. He's on duty, he's in the scope of his employment, and whether he's in policy or not is unknown. Now, and I get to this later, but since I'm thinking about it, I just didn't want to miss it. They're reporting now the guy resigned. Everybody's like, oh, he knows he's wrong if he resigned. Well, maybe not. He knows this is a hot potato, and he probably got a lawyer, and as long as you work for an agency, you're required, you're ordered per policy to cooperate in any internal affairs or any shooting investigation. So if he says, I don't want to give a statement because it's going to be turned around and used against me, they can go, we're going to fire you, you're out of policy. If you don't cooperate with this, it's a coerced statement, but it still gathers evidence that can be used against him later, especially in a federal trial because they don't have suppression issues like state. A state may go, oh, we can't use that because it was coerced. You told him he'd lose his job if he gave the statement. California is that way. They always tell cops right away, if you don't give the statement, you could be fired. You know that? And then they get a statement. And then the cops always fall back to, hey, I would have never gave that statement if I wasn't coerced to losing my job. Therefore, nothing I say in my statement can be used against me in California. However, if the feds come in and try to charge you federally, they don't have that rule. They can take a coerced statement. So that's why some attorney, I'm sure, probably went, dude, this is a bad shoot. This looks bad. You may have been right. You may have been fair. You may have thought you were right. You may have been within policy. But if you give a statement and you misstate, and they can ask you anything and everything 20 times, they can keep you and interrogate you 4 days straight. Because per policy, you must cooperate. And his attorney might have said, look, do not give a statement. Do not get into these 14 different statements and they can compel you to answer. I'm telling you right now, you have the right to remain silent, quit so they don't terminate you for violating policy. Just go ahead and quit. And that's why I think he quit. Not so much as an admission of guilt, just because this is such a hot potato because they're making it a race issue that they're going to want to hang this white guy and get him in prison and make him out to be a racist. And they don't know nothing about the case. They don't even know if the guy knew she was black. But anyway, let me go to my next point here. Not murder, no intent. I covered that. There was 2 officers. A lot of people said, why didn't he wait for backup? He was whispering to somebody. If you go back and listen to the video again, you can hear him whispering. 2 people are whispering back and forth. Their video and what they said is going to be important. Fort Worth released this video on this shooting, but they cut it off immediately after the shooting. And they're going to say, well, we cut it off because it was too graphic and there was no reason to see the woman fall or scream or that's BS. They cut that shit because critical information about what he did immediately after the shooting will indicate whether his fear was reasonable, whether his fear was real, whether he was like, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that, which would make it, a lot of people are jumping to the conclusion this was an accidental discharge, AD, or ND, negligent discharge. I like to say accidental because it triggers people that like negligent. AD and ND, they're the same freaking thing. You pull the trigger and you shouldn't have. So, and negligence kind of implies that it's against your training and all that, but I don't want to get in all this word games with these experts. All these internet experts who have never testified in court, never had to defend what they're saying, suddenly become an expert in the comments. But anyway, everybody's entitled to opinion. So, whether it was an AD or ND, I don't know if that's true or not. My thought process is the PD is not saying it was an AD. They could kind of distance themselves and limit their liability had they come out and said, this was an accidental shooting, this was negligent, he didn't mean to afterwards, unfortunately she died and he hit his truck. I mean, isn't it funny? Cops will shoot 14 times at a suspect and miss them every freaking time when they're authorized to shoot. But when they make a mistake or they're not authorized, they freaking hit the person and they die. I mean, I just can't believe the odds. But it just boggles the mind. But anyway, most cops' hit ratio, I've already said, is way under 20%. Usually around 13 to 17, depending on who you ask or what study. Very, very low percent hit ratio. And most of those hits are non-fatal. I mean, there's plenty of guys that have been shot multiple times by cops and lived. So, for an accidental shooting or negligent discharge or wrongful shooting, and the person dies with one shot fired, man, that's a problem. One shot fired is another issue. He didn't fire multiple rounds. Why didn't he fire multiple rounds? He may say, when I fired one round, she dropped. And I felt I could stop. He may say, there's other people that are saying, there was a child in there, her and her child were playing video games. And they were playing Grand Theft Auto, whatever the hell it is, where they have a gun. And the picture they're showing is a internet trigger gun for a game. It's not a real gun. That doesn't matter. Hi, Moki. Moki was going to come up, but I moved my hands. He's like, okay, I won't come. It's okay, Dad, I'll move this. Come on. I know. Come on. Come on. I know. You can come back up. He's being a good boy. So, was it a game or not? Doesn't matter. It'll look like a real gun. If the cop had time, which I don't think he does, if he had time to say, let's say he did everything right. Let's say this shooting happened at the front or side door. And he saw her and she had his gun in her hand. And he said, police, don't move. And she turned and pointed a gun and he shot her. Totally different situation. Totality of circumstances. He was where he was authorized to be. He saw somebody armed. He recognized what appeared to be a gun. And when he challenged her, she turned and pointed the gun at him. Even though it was a welfare check, even though she didn't commit a crime, it would be a totally different situation. That's why when people want to put all these things into the exact same and just immediately go, oh, I know what happened, and I know when this guy's wrong, he should be charged with murder, and he should be... You're speaking without knowing a lot more facts than we know, and you're making conclusions about the law and his state of mind. As a cop, his state of mind has to be judged against another cop with the same experience. Experience is going to help him. He was only a cop for a year. So having only a year on the job is going to help him, because another cop with a year on the job, if he says, yeah, I might have done the same thing, that's the standard he's held to. They can't put a veteran officer like me that like says, man, this guy's a dumbass. His training was bad. His training, I mean, who signed this guy off on handling welfare checks? Does he know the difference between a burglary? Did he think there was a crime? And if I was interviewing him on those are things I'd be talking about. Why did you go in the gate? Why did you open the gate? Did you know you couldn't open a gate? You didn't have a warrant. Why did you illegally enter the gate? Why didn't you announce yourself at the door? Why did you walk past two doors and not announce yourself? Why didn't you call for backup if you didn't know? You've only been on the job for a year. Why did you do all these things? And that's what he would have to answer. And to be honest, if I was his attorney, I wouldn't want him answering any of that. So if I'm his attorney, I'm saying, quit. Therefore, they can't compel you a statement. When they ask you any questions, you tell them you got an attorney, and I advise you not to talk. Now, you make the government, like they should have to do, prove their case. You make the government prove you knew she was black and you shot her because she was black. You make the government prove that you were unjustified, because they have to do that. That's government's burden. They have all the resources, all the money, all the detectives, all the NCIC history they can grab, search warrant. They have all the power to prove their case. That's why you're innocent until proven guilty. In these cases, damn man, just from my comments, everybody says this guy's guilty. Now, I think it was a crappy shoot, but I don't know what he's guilty of as a crime, and I don't know what he's going to be charged with. I do think, and I said that in the first video, I think he's going to be charged. This is just, and I think the biggest thing is he shouldn't have went in that gate and he probably violated policy. and the policy price says you can't enter a person's property or blah, blah, or an academy, you receive training on no exigency, no consent, no warrant, you don't enter. So unless you can justify or articulate exigency, which I don't think you can from the video, then you shouldn't enter that room. Why did you enter it? When you entered it, you were unlawful. When you're unlawful, now you're no longer covered on immunity because you're not allowed where you are. You're not allowed to be where you're at. The cop was not allowed to be in the backyard. Therefore, anything that happened once he entered the backyard, he's not covered. He wasn't where he was allowed to be. He was allowed to be at the front door. He was allowed to be at the side door because the postman could be there. But he was not allowed to open the gate and enter the back of the house. Would the gate have been locked better? Sure. But it was locked with a latch and he had to unlatch it. Now, if you put a fence around your house with a gate, can the postman walk through that gate and deliver a package? Yes. So is it still considered public access? Unfortunately, yes. The only way you get away from public access is if you can't open a gate, it's locked. They have to climb over it or unlawfully squeeze between it, move it, manipulate it in order to get in. So, let's see where we're at here. NDAD, I think I already did that. Fear of life, show gun. Since the PD did not say it was a negligent or accidental discharge, I'm thinking they're going on the premise that he was justified in shooting. He was in fear of life, he saw something, and he reacted. Otherwise, the agency, I mean, they'd just be crazy to go, hey, you know, he was in policy. Maybe they could say he had a reason to go back there and there was exigency, but he accidentally pulled. He didn't mean to. There's no intent here. Doesn't mean he's not going to get charged. Doesn't mean he maybe not get fired. But I think if they were going to fire him, if you remember they fired Amber on her shooting relatively quick when all the civil suits started coming. But I don't know. I didn't see in the trial that she answered questions on an IA if they ever interviewed her or what statement she gave. So I don't know what she did. Playing video games, fake gun, I've already covered that. We don't know what the cop knew prior to going on that call. I don't know what Fort Worth gets when they get a call. Normally you get a call, a summary, it's typed out from dispatch. If it was, you know, dispatched over the computer. If it was audibly dispatched over the radio, I don't know if they do that a lot anymore, then we have a recording on what he was told. Neighbor says door was open, he heard screams, he heard yelling, the door appears to be forced open, he thinks something. We don't know, I haven't heard the 911 call on what the guy said, but it sounds like he said, door's open, it's 2:30 in the morning, our cars are home, that's not normal. That's what it sounds like he said. But we don't know that. So if the officer knew more information, all you people saying he could be convicted of murder may not fly. I don't know how he's going to get past entering that gate, that locked gate in the rear. I don't know how he's going to get past that. I mean, there's a lot of other things he gets past too. But let's see, I covered the IA. Was the officer reasonable? Remember, it's not reasonable for you, and it's not reasonable for me. It's reasonable for another officer with his training and experience. He's a young kid. He's only been on the job, I think they're saying a year or less than a year, which means he doesn't have a lot of experience. That matters because younger, inexperienced officers will do things that a senior officer would not have done. They will make mistakes. My guess he may have been, I don't know how long they keep you on probation here in Fort Worth. Usually you're a year on probation. In California, most agencies over there, it's a year. Some places are 3 years you're on probation. And when you're on probation, the agency can let you go for any reason. They don't have to give you a reason. It's not working out, see you later. I mean, you're pretty much an at-will, they can get rid of you. But Texas is kind of one of those at-will states anyway, so I think they can get rid of a cop anyway. But I'm not sure how the union works here. Maybe a Texas cop can fill that in the comments. Somebody was saying, could the homeowner have shot the cop? Absolutely. Now, if the homeowner said, I saw a cop in my backyard, I knew he was trespassing, he shouldn't have been here, he was violating the law, so I shot him, that's not going to fly. If you intentionally shoot a cop, even if he's wrong, and say, I knew he was a cop and I shot him anyway, you're going to go to prison. Now, you can hate me and call me a jackboot and say I don't believe in the Constitution. You can do all this. You can just shoot the messenger. But I'm telling you, if you say, I knew he was a cop and I shot him because I knew he shouldn't be in my yard, you're going to go to prison. Now, if you say, I saw a flashlight come through my window, I grabbed my gun, I was in fear of my life, and I saw a shadow with a flashlight that came through and blinded me, I thought my life was in danger and I shot, I didn't know he was a cop, then I think that chute would fly and you would be okay. Cops shouldn't have been there. You were in your house. Castle doctrine. So I mean, I think you're okay if you should, at least in Texas. And it depends in some states. It may be different. Let's see. Did the cop escalate or de-escalate? I'm hearing on the news, everybody, that's all they're talking about. We need more de-escalation training. De-escalate? The cop did, all he did was escalate. He went to the door, he didn't identify himself, escalating. He snuck around like a freaking criminal. He's escalating. He went to the back area and went through a gate he shouldn't have been in, escalating. He went and looked through a window and panicked and shot a woman in her own house through the window. All that's escalation. There was no de-escalation. Again, what's the policy for responding to welfare checks? Do you try one attempt? Do you do a search? Do you need sergeant approval to conduct a search other than knocking on the door? Do you have to get sergeant approval after you get no answer? If that's not in the policy, it probably should be in the policy. If they don't have a policy, they should have a policy. So, and we'll find that out later, I guess. Intent. I'm always talking about intent. What was the officer's intent? The officer's intent was to go there, respond for a call, do his duty, do a welfare check. That was his intent. You're going to be hard to get that he went there with the intent to kill her. Now somebody's going to say, well, when he pulled the trigger, he meant to kill her. I don't buy that shit. That's not the key. When he pulled the trigger, he was defending himself. Cops shoot unarmed people every day, and it's never they intended to kill them. Never. So people that want to jump to that, I don't buy it. Because Amber Guyger got convicted and it hasn't been appealed, I don't buy it. I still think it's BS, and that case is appealable and she should be turned over. But she may not want to risk it. So, and we've already been through that. So intent to me, the officer wasn't out for kicks. He didn't self-initiate. He wasn't out looking. He was dispatched as part of his job, and he went there on a call. His intent is to comply with his operating instructions or his OIs, SOPs, whatever you want to call it, and conduct a call. Why didn't he fire multiple rounds? Was he really scared or was he not really scared? If he only fired one round, was his fear real? Because remember, we're always saying when cops fire multiple rounds, it's crazy. They shouldn't do that. They should evaluate. So maybe he had good training to only fire one round. Someone else was talking about training calls this because they do draw and shoot at the range. I used to teach draw and shoot. Immediate action drill. Guy comes at you, standing in front of a target. You have to push the target off, draw your gun, and shoot, jump back because he reaches for a gun or pulls a knife. That does not create muscle memory. Okay, muscle memory normally takes 5,000 times of doing the same thing. Now, 5,000 is a number that's been thrown around. You'll have people argue, no, it's 3,000. You'll have other people argue, no, it's 10,000. 5,000 is the wrong number, and you can get all into if and buts and coconuts on how many numbers. But it's a large majority, consistent, routinely, over time, that creates muscle memory. You don't create muscle memory by going to the range once a year or twice a year and doing it immediately. That's not creating muscle memory. Drawing your gun 3 times a shift, every shift, that creates muscle memory. Where your holster's at, where your gun's at. Those are muscle memory. Taking your seatbelt off before you get to call. Every time you get out of the car, before you stop, you take it off a block before. That's routine. Done consistently over time creates muscle memory. This guy did not draw and shoot because he had bad training at the range and they created muscle memory. I don't buy that. Let's see. No crime, no exigency, no warrant. Yeah, I don't know what I meant there. I typed that out. Let's see. Hope he learned not to text. Oh, I said I hope he learned not to text anyone. If he got out of this call and was texting last night and all day, bad move. When you start texting, you better know that they're getting it. Now, I just added Snapchat to my phone. And I didn't put my phone number or anything, and I use the name John Doe. So if somebody, Snapchat, I didn't know it. So I called my nephew. I go, dude, you got Snapchat? He goes, yeah. I go, what is that? I said, they got the text on Amber Fry things, but they said they couldn't get it on Snapchat. Why is that? He goes, oh man, it's a cheating app. I go, what? He goes, yeah, Snapchat's a cheating app, man. You run into women and stuff, you can do things, and your spouse, girlfriend, nobody knows what you're doing because it's deleted. So he said, Snapchat, if I send you something, as soon as you view it, Once you close it, it's done. And I go, well, shit, I can just take a screenshot. He goes, oh, if you take a screenshot, it notifies you that the person took a screenshot of what you just sent him. I go, no shit. And he goes, yeah. I go, wow. And he's like, but I got a second phone, so if I want to screenshot something, I just take my other phone, take damn nephew. Anyway, so there's ways around it, but Snapchat is pretty good. Because it doesn't keep records, government can't do a subpoena or a warrant and get your records. They may be able to get you texting him because they knew Amber Snapchatted his boyfriend, but they did not know what he sent. And her answer was great on the stand. I don't remember. That was over a year ago. I mean, I thought her trial came to court pretty quick. This trial will probably go to court pretty quick. They haven't charged him yet, but I would probably take bets he's going to get charged. A lot of people saying it's going to be justified. I think he's getting charged. But anyway, so Snapchat's one of those programs that if you're going to text, you better use a program like that deletes it and there's no record of it. And the way Snapchat gets around it, because most internet agencies are required by law, if they operate in the U.S., that they have to keep records and they have to maintain and they have to agree to cooperate with law enforcement. If they're serving a court order or warrant by law, they have to give up any information they have, not withhold, hide, etc. So Snapchat gets around that by saying, we don't keep records. Our program deletes it. There's no records to keep. So if the government had their way, they would require them to write a new app that did save them. But for right now, Snapchat, I downloaded it because then I can talk to some of my fellow patriots without fear of those texts being, kept or saved or used against me. So I hope this guy used Snapchat said. So now let's get to the difference between Amber and him. Here's my big difference on why I gave Amber and him different. One, I don't know this guy's history or his credibility. I haven't seen him testify yet. When I first came out with Amber, I was against her and go, how can you be so stupid to go to the wrong apartment? And I was pretty hard on her. And on this guy, I'm like, how can you be so stupid? Now maybe when I see this guy testify and get reamed, I'll change my mind. Because with more information, a reasonable, intelligent person changes their mind. Unless you're a liberal, then it doesn't matter what the facts are, what the information is, you're just going to stick. But I'm a liberal, and liberals are good and right, and we need more government, we need more taxes, and you guys don't need guns, and LGBT and 14 bathrooms is the way to go to make America great and open borders. So it doesn't matter what the facts are if you're a liberal. But most normal, reasonable, intelligent people, when they get more information, they're willing to change their mind. So as more information comes out, I may change my position on this. But the difference between these two is Amber was off work, tired, not in the scope of her employment, not dispatched. She was in her mind going home and opened her own apartment door and was surprised by an intruder, or what she thought was an intruder, in her apartment. Big difference. This guy was a cop on duty, dispatched to a low-risk, non-violent, non-emergency, non-exigency call of a welfare check to help the person, and he ended up sneaking around, opening the back door, going in the back and shooting her through the window. Totally different cases in my book. I don't know how people are seeing the same case. I mean, to me, just those facts alone. Then you get in, Amber was a small, petite female that was probably hired and promoted too quick, shouldn't have been hired, can't handle, was very mealy-mouthed, didn't look like she had any training or experience, probably was coddled, probably had everybody doing anything for her, so she never had to learn, and then when she made a mistake, they just crucified her. This guy may get the same boat, got 1 year on the job. He's a male, he's not going to get quiet. Some people are saying he's an Hispanic male. That will work in his favor. He ought to go to Ancestry.com and see if he's got any Hispanic blood so he can play that card. But if he's Hispanic, that takes away get whitey, and white people all hate black people when they're out there killing them for no reason, which is the narrative that all the race baiters and the freaking professional, protesters are out there screaming now. So that's the huge difference. One was on duty, in uniform, dispatched, with a radio, with backup, going to a call that he was dispatched to. The other one, off duty, relaxed, tired, going in what she thinks her home and finds an intruder in her home. Even though she was wrong, state of mind. Two totally different cases. Now, neither one of them should have been killed, and since Amber doesn't have video, if I saw Amber's video and she had video on, And as soon as she opened the door, the guy went, "Hey, you're in my house." And she went, "Don't move, show me your hands, bang." I would have been against her. I'd have been like, "Oh, hell no, she shot too fast." But according to her statement, and she's the only one that was there, she says she challenged a couple times and he still came at her. So totally different cases. I just think they're different. So those are the two big differences. I brought up a lot of questions that people answered. This is going to be one of those good cases that people are going to try to make case laws. Attorneys are going to try to make their reputation on it. The investigators who are investigating this are going to try to make their names on it. The DA is going to try to make his name on it. The defense attorney is going to try to make his name on it. The judge is going to get stardom and TV time, and justice will be lost in a mix somewhere, and we may or may not know. But at least, if it's a trial like they did Amber Guyger, to where it was videotaped, and we can get more information. So that's my theory. Somebody sent me a tourniquet, added strength Kevlar from Recon Medical LLC. Thank you for your honor. We know you'll love it. But they didn't put their name or who it's from. And every once in a while I get things like this. So I really appreciate whoever sent me this. And I don't know if this is the same one that I order or if it's different, but it looks like a nice tourniquet. And I'm not sure mine has reinforced with, what was it, Kevlar? Whatever it said. Whatever. Anyway, whoever sent this, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. And I guess we'll end that there. This is going to be one of those good cases, so I might make a playlist on this case, so as I keep adding videos, everybody can watch it. Moki, thanks for sitting with me. Not being mad at me because I yelled at you yesterday. Damn. Freaking armadillo came to my house again, tore up my yard again. Dude, I want him so freaking bad. I can't catch him because I can't get him a thing, but I put the little timer out front thinking he's been digging up this area, so I put my little door chimer that when something walks by it goes beep in the house really loud. So I was like, okay, I'll get up and grab my gun, take care of this. Well, it didn't go off all night. I'm like, damn, he didn't come by. I walk around the backyard and that piece of shit hit my backyard. So he's on my shit list. He probably works for Fort Worth PD. Anyway, we'll end that there.